Hey everyone, we're about to jump into some pretty fascinating stuff today. Got a whole stack of articles here all about the Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC,
Right.
and their big meeting coming up, January 28th and 29th.
Big one.
This is kind of a nail-biter because it's the first one of 2025.
Yeah.
It's going to set the tone for the whole year, especially when it comes to interest rates.
Exactly.
And, the FOMC, they're the ones who control those rates. And we all know that impacts, pretty much everything. Mortgages, car loans, everything.
It all comes back to that.
So in this deep dive, let's try to break down what all these experts are saying. What could actually happen, and most importantly, what it all means for, your wallet.
Absolutely. It's a tricky time right now. The Fed's in a tough spot. They made a bunch of rate cuts at the end of 2024, brought the federal funds rate.
It's the one we all hear about, right?
Right, the one banks use to charge each other for, overnight loans. But it's also the baseline for a whole bunch of other interest rates, too. So they brought it down to between 4.25% and 4.50%. But now the big question is, are they going to keep cutting? Are they going to pause? Or could they even raise rates?
Yeah, and some of these articles are predicting 2 more rate cuts in 2025.
Yeah.
Which, would add up to a whole 50 basis points.
Yeah, 0.5%.
Yeah, for anyone who's not familiar with basis points, think of it like, the little tick marks on a ruler, but for measuring interest rate changes. So 50 basis points is half a percentage point. Might not sound like much, but even those little tweaks can make
it can have a ripple effect. But some experts think a hold is more likely. What are they seeing that's making them think that?
That's the question, right?
Well, one word. Inflation. The Fed's always trying to keep inflation at a steady 2%. But right now it's sitting at 2.9%. And that has them a little worried.
Yeah, one of the articles you sent over actually mentioned robust consumer spending is one of the reasons why. Basically, it sounds like people are still buying a lot of stuff, which, can drive prices up.
Supply and demand, right.
Right. But why are people still spending so much, though? I mean, is this some kind of post-pandemic spending spree? Are we seeing, the effects of those government stimulus packages from last year? Or is it something else entirely?
It's probably a bit of everything, honestly. There's definitely some pent-up demand from, those pandemic years when everyone was stuck at home. And yeah, those stimulus checks, they definitely gave people some extra cash to spend. But there are also concerns about, potential asset bubbles forming.
Right.
Things like, inflated housing prices or certain stocks just skyrocketing. So if spending keeps surging and the Fed doesn't, kind of tap the brakes, we could be in for a wild ride.
Okay, so that's where this whole balancing act comes in, right? The Fed wants to keep the economy growing, but they also need to make sure that, the growth is sustainable.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't just spiral into, crazy inflation.
Right, exactly.
No one wants that.
No.
I'm starting to understand why the experts are so divided on this. It's hard to predict.
It really is. And then you've got the job market, too. That's another piece of the puzzle that the FOMC is looking at. A lot of these articles describe the current job market as stable. Which,
it's a good thing, right?
On the surface, yeah. But here's the thing. A stable job market can actually put pressure on the Fed to raise rates.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Because if everyone's got a job and they're earning money, that can lead to even more spending.
Right.
And potentially, push inflation even higher.
I don't know that. So a good job market could actually be a bad thing for inflation.
It's counterintuitive. I know. But it's all connected. The Fed's trying to walk this tightrope between keeping the economy going and keeping prices under control.
So they're really in a tough spot.
They are, which is why these articles keep saying things like cautious approach. And they emphasize how much the FOMC relies on incoming economic data. They're watching everything so closely, waiting to see how the data unfolds before they make any big decisions.
It's like they're trying to read tea leaves.
Yeah.
But the tea leaves keep changing.
Yeah, it's a murky cup of tea, for sure.
All right, so let's bring it back to us. The everyday people.
Yeah.
What does all of this actually mean for us?
Well, even small changes to that federal funds rate, they can impact your life in a bunch of ways.
Yeah.
Mortgage rates, for one. So if you're thinking about buying a house this year, the FOMC's decisions, they could mean the difference between a manageable monthly payment and something that just totally breaks the bank.
Oof, yeah, no one wants that.
Then there's savings account yields. You know how much interest you earn on your savings. And it can even impact the stock market, which is important if you're, investing.
So much to think about.
It is. It's a lot.
Sounds like we should all be paying attention to what the FOMC does at this upcoming meeting.
Definitely they're in a tough spot. Trying to balance controlling inflation with stimulating growth. And sometimes those goals, they kind of clash.
With a dilemma, for sure.
What do you think they should prioritize?
It's a good question to think about. That's what this deep dive is all about, giving you the information you need, the context, so that you can understand these issues, form your own opinions, make informed decisions.
Exactly.
Because this 2025 economy, it's shaping up to be a bit of a roller coaster. And we're here to help you navigate it. Until next time, stay curious.